Hi, and welcome to the Mid-Career Doctor Program in Educational Leadership. Today we are having a Saturday Commons, and it's more of a webinar style. And typically on a Saturday Commons, we have opportunities for students, faculty, and alumni to learn from each other. So today's format will be more of a webinar format that will put this video on YouTube. It can be watched anytime, anywhere. My name is Joe Maz. I'm the Leadership Innovation Manager here at Penn GSC's Mid-Career Doctor Program. And over here we have...
My name is Tony Sinanis, and I'm the lead learner at Koenig Elementary School and a student here at the Mid-Career Doctoral Program.
Yes, Tony is actually going to graduate this year.
Yes, sir.
I think he's on the right track. He's doing a really cool study. Before we get going, just talk about your dissertation study for 30 seconds.
Sure. All right, so I'm exploring how principals are using Twitter for their own professional development and looking at ideas like social learning theory and communities of practice as the theoretical underpinnings of that study. And I've been lucky to interview 6 different principals from across the country multiple times to get a sense of how they're doing that. So at this point, I have looked through all my data and I'm putting together the findings. So I think I am on track for graduation.
Excellent. So anyway, Tony is a really good lens to have on this, kind of video webinar because, he's really deep in the whole social media culture, so to speak, from educators, the parents, the principals, the students. So today we're really talking about the digital footprint for administrators. When you Google your name as an administrator, what do you see? What are the top 5, 10 entries on what you see? We're going to talk about LinkedIn. We're going to talk about me. We're going to talk about Twitter. We're going to talk about blogs. And we're going to talk about any other ways that we are forming our digital footprint as school administrators. We'll just share a couple examples of why the digital footprint is so example, and then we'll get into the actual tools where we can find and actually create our digital footprint.
Yeah, definitely.
So you just got hired as the principal of Anytown USA school, and they put your name in, they as in parents, community members, teachers, colleagues, and they are looking for information to learn more about you. When they put your name in, we want them to find really, really great stuff. We want them to find your accomplishments. We want them to find a digital resume. We want them to find some media, maybe you leading and carrying out some of the work of a school leader. We don't want them to have to look for more than a couple seconds to be able to find your name. So, some of this is being very proactive about our digital footprint in a way that it's not hard for people to find. And we can have a couple links out there. We know there's hundreds of options to do this, but we're going to give you a couple examples. And I actually made an About Me page 10 minutes before this webinar to see how easy it was. So, okay. Tony, what would you add?
I think what I will say is that at this point in time, it's a critical thing to consider. And I can only tell you, it's crystallized for me recently. We have about 15 or 20 new families that have started at Koenig since January 5th, right? Since we reopened school after the holiday break. And at least 7 or 8 times within those 15 to 20 families, they mentioned to me that they saw my work on Twitter, or they saw the video updates that our kids were doing. They saw the YouTube channel. They saw the Google Plus profile. So they were clear about the fact that what they read about me and what they found out about me was appealing to them when they were making a decision about where to enroll their children in school and where to move physically to attend schools. So the digital citizenship idea, the digital footprint idea is a critical one, not only for us to sort of teach our kids about, but to really be thinking about as educators and educational leaders.
Yeah, and you set the tone as the school leader for your social media use for your teachers, for your colleagues, for administrators, for parents, for stakeholders.
Definitely.
And you're doing this in a proactive, a safe, responsible way. So others that maybe are fearful or don't really know what to do, at least they have a guide. At least they have a good example, their school leader, their school principal, to try and enter into this whole arena of digital media and social media. So here at the university, our doctoral students are encouraged to tweet using the hashtag PennEdChat. And, we might be in class and sharing some of the content that's coming out of there, facilitated by faculty members or fellow students. If there was a group of people in here for this Saturday Commons, we might be tweeting about some of the things that we're reflecting upon. But it doesn't stop when we leave campus, because we're encouraging the program, the current students, the alumni, the faculty, to continue to tweet using that hashtag from wherever they are, because we all know school leaders need to help each other. We can't do this alone. And one of the best parts about social media is it's so easy to share and to reflect and to build relationships and get the support that we all need for this area and get ourselves off admin island.
Well, that's it. It's all about that idea of isolation. And so one of the things that came up with every participant in my research study, the word isolation, the word silo, and not only as educational leaders, but also as educators in general. You know, we're confined to our classroom often, and so a resource like social media, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Voxer, whether it's LinkedIn, allows you to connect and go beyond those physical barriers that exist because you are confined, whether we like it or not. But this gives us access to ideas and practices that we didn't even know about. So one of the principals I was talking to for my study, the one thing he kept telling me is, he was like, I wouldn't know what I don't know if it weren't for Twitter. And I wouldn't know that I'm so not done learning and growing if it weren't for the connections I made on Twitter. And so I take my professional work really seriously because of the people that I've connected with. And so that's really powerful stuff when you think about within the context, you can feel pretty finite. Within your school, you can feel like, all right, I've done this, done that, I'm good. But then you start to connect with people who are in other schools, other states, other countries, other parts of the world, and you realize, wait, I haven't done that yet. I haven't tried this, and I want to do that. And so the idea of being active and modeling those practices, not only for your staff, but for your kids responsibly, I think is the best type of education we can provide as well.
So Tony, you're a third-year doctoral student. You've
Yes.
been the principal at Cantiague Elementary School up in New York, and he won't tell you, but I'll tell you, he was the 2014 National Principal of the Year in New York.
Yes.
And that makes all of us proud. But
Thank you.
so we're going to start with tools. So you would say that Twitter is something that every school principal should be out there for a variety of different reasons. Give us the short take on that one.
I definitely think the first and foremost reason is because our work is so consuming as building principals, this takes away that need to go sign up for a conference or a workshop that you have to go sit in all day, right? Invariably, we know we go to that conference, our phone is ringing within the first hour because there's some sort of crisis at school. Twitter allows you to PD in a personalized way, in a time that is like accommodating for you, works for you, and in a way that allows you to explore things to whatever depth you want, and the things that matter most to you. So it's not like I'm just going to go sit there and learn about just PLCs today, but I'm going to learn about PLCs and how they look virtually, or I'm going to learn about how PLCs look on a grade level. And with Twitter, you can dig as deep as you want within any sort of topic in any area, and it can be person-driven because you can connect with a person who's like an expert in that field. Or it can be hashtag-driven, and searching through hashtags to find out information relevant to a certain topic or point of interest. So for me, it was about that. It took away that, I have to go sit in a workshop today, and I don't know what's going to happen at school, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to be behind. Now it's like I could do this online when I'm at the supermarket, or I can do this in the morning for 15 minutes before I get ready to go to work. And that's a really powerful thing because it's in my hands. I control it, and that's pretty awesome.
So, for example, there's EduCon happening,
Right.
#EduCon happening this weekend here in Philadelphia. Great conference. If you haven't been there, definitely get to EduCon one of these years. It's always in January. It's at the Science Leadership Academy. It's led by school principal Chris Lehman at that Science Leadership Academy, but also by the students and by the teachers and by the parents. Everybody at that school plays a part in this conference. So we're on campus this weekend. We're in classes. We can't get over there like we would like to. However, on our monitors out here, we have #EduCon, so we can see the tweets happening. Students are seeing that channel, that hashtag, at their own devices, so they can skim some of the resources that might relate to their own school goals, and personal and professional goals. So, being a school leader and being able to know what resources you have to maximize, share some, retweet some, tag a teacher or a colleague, locally or globally on there, you're building your digital footprint by branding what's important to you. You have high expectations. We care about literacy. By what you're studying and what you're sharing publicly, you're putting a stake in the ground in terms of, we care about this, and this is, I hope that stakeholders from my school will see this as well. So maybe it'll inform what they're doing as well.
Absolutely, Joe. I mean, that's the key thing to this, is that as you're exploring these resources and you're sharing resources and you're engaging in conversation with people on Twitter, and again, Twitter is just one example. It's out there. It's out there for the world to see. And that's great because it shows people what you stand for. It shows people what you believe in. It shows people what you want to impart on your staff and on your families and on your kids. And as educators, as educational leaders, that's our goal, right? That's our daily goal. And so for me, it has been pretty powerful to see that evolution. And for me, it started out, pretty simply just lurking a little bit and reading other people's tweets and kind of using them as a source of inspiration to then engaging and dialoguing and deliberating and really thinking about things from different points of view that I never would have access to. Because even though I work with amazing people within the context of our district, we're all kind of struggling with similar things. So our points of view tend to be somewhat similar. And a tool like Twitter or a tool like Google Plus or a tool like Voxer has allowed me to have access to a much broader perspective, to a much broader lens that has helped me shape and refine my point of view. So it's pretty powerful.
Excellent. So the next thing we're going to talk about is LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I've got up on the screen here. It's a social media. There's a lot of people that use it for a variety of different reasons. You can share blogs there. You can find and connect the people that work in your community, outside of your community there. It hasn't been a huge impactful piece of my own career, but it is a place where if someone wants to look up my credentials, where I'm currently working, what kind of work I'm doing, and who I'm connected to, they have access to that.
Yeah.
And it's a constant. Everybody knows about it. There's apps for it. There's different things that connect to it. You can connect Twitter to that, and blogs and websites and all those kind of things. And here at the program, we are now using this for networking job opportunities. So if you are a part of the program, alumni or current student, we have a group for the Mid-Career Doctor Program where we are putting those postings right on there. So the program doesn't end when you graduate after 3 years. You are in it for life. So we want to make sure we're all looking out for each other, and we have the opportunities that are out there. We all know about it. So this is kind of a go-to place aside from the network news and the emails and distributions that come out. This is a social network where you can also find some of those things. Any ways that you've used LinkedIn, Coney?
To be honest with you, it's probably one of the resources I haven't really used. I'm pretty sure I don't have a LinkedIn profile at this point, but definitely something that I've considered of late. You mentioned the word resume earlier and having that out there, right? So people know what your experiences have been before. Not because you're necessarily looking for something job-wise, but so you put it out there. I was a fifth grade teacher before I was a principal, and I taught at a college over the summer, whatever the case may be. And so it's on my calendar for at some point in the next 2 weeks to actually create a LinkedIn profile so that I can put that information out there. I do see value in being transparent in that way as well.
Absolutely. Again, it's linkedin.com, and like a lot of these social medias, they connect with other ones. So you can embed them throughout. I think I sign in through my Twitter handle on LinkedIn, so again, it makes it a little bit easier for you. And again, we're not encouraging you to go and sign up for all of these things. We just kind of give a tour of what are the things that people see the most. And when you Google your name, these are some of the sites that pop up before others. The large sites like About, like Twitter, like LinkedIn. So let's go to the third tool we're going to talk about today, About. And right at the beginning, I said this was something I was actually sitting last night with Lynn Hilt, principal, someone that's mentored me along the way in my own leadership. I actually included her in my dissertation. Tony actually, I saw him last night, and that's actually what we were talking about. She was telling me about About.me. And this is a place where you can, seriously, it took me 5 minutes to create a profile that has my role, what I do, things that interest me, my social media channels that I'm willing to make public here. And we'll talk about this public and private thing in just a second, but this is a really quick tool. So if you're looking for something, I don't have any presence, where should I start? This is certainly something that we can start. And then later, if you do go the extra mile and you do the LinkedIn profile, you can see down here, I can embed that LinkedIn profile here, like my Instagram, my YouTube page, my Twitter, my Facebook pages here for the university. And you can follow those kind of things. So again, it's a real easy thing. You get to customize your username up here. For me, it's about.me/leadlearner. But you can use the same one as your Twitter handle.
That's great.
Or something else. So have you used About Me or anything that sounds like that?
I haven't used About Me, but I know a few people who do. And I think the one thing they spoke to me about was they found it easy to start with, and they felt like it was kind of safe, and they could put out there what they wanted to put out there. And it took away, like one of the conversations that I've had with colleagues about LinkedIn is that if you're on LinkedIn, it looks like you're always looking for some other job, right? And so there's that perception a little bit with About, at least from what they've shared with me, because I'm not actively on About either, is that it's a safe place to kind of share information about yourself to whatever degree you want. And I think that's powerful, because for people who are just getting started on this is maybe a sort of dipping your toe in the pool before you jump
Absolutely.
in. So I think that's
Absolutely.
great.
So, it is just about dipping your toe in the water and actually taking control of your digital footprint.
Yes.
It's not something that has to just happen to you. We can be proactive. And Tony, I know that you have written a book about telling your story.
Yes.
And it's not a foreign concept to
No,
this. You are telling your story at the same time describing and articulating your digital footprint.
Yeah.
In a very positive and a child-centered way that helps not only you grow and connect and build your own personal learning network, but also builds those around you that are connected to you.
Absolutely. The idea of like telling your story at the core is about transparency. And it's about being, again, comfortable and confident in the things that you believe in and the things that you stand for. And when you're transparent with people, whether it's your staff or your kids or your community, invariably you're building relational trust, because they believe in you. You're being consistent in the message that you're sending, and you're building social capital. And when you're in a position of leadership, often you're expected to be this transformational leader, right? Bringing about change. And change can be very difficult. But when there is trust at the core, when there is social capital at the core, you can navigate instances where you need to make significant change much more successfully. At least I have found that in my career, being in a position initially in my first principalship where I was not able to build that social capital, where I did not have a high level of transparency, and trust was very, very much in the early stages. Change was hard, and it was a lot of confrontation. Where I am at Canning now, because I've been so transparent and so consistent, change has been something we've navigated pretty easily. Even though the change is difficult, it's rooted in trust. And I think that idea of telling your story comes back to transparency, and that's what you want. You want people to believe in you. You want people to identify with you, and that allows for a lot of great things to happen. So.
Yeah. So a part of the school leadership is not only looking out for your own digital footprint, but you're looking out for all of the stakeholders that you work with.
Yep.
Because if one teacher on your staff doesn't have a very pristine digital footprint, then everyone suffers, right?
Yeah.
So part of this is role modeling, but part of this is we have to then build capacity. And if our teachers that may or may not be coming out of college with these particular connected skills, we need to step up and bring them in. I mean, this is a mentoring piece for school leaders, a mentoring piece for new teachers.
Yes.
Getting students from early in the elementary years, because they're already on social networks from an early age.
Yeah.
And we need to put something out there that lets them learn in a more of a laboratory sense with support.
Yes.
But also we've got to set the bar. We've got to at least give them something to strive for, give them some examples. That's why we've shared Twitter and LinkedIn and About today. Because there are models out there that people are utilizing these resources in a really great way. And if I'm looking for someone, or if I'm interviewing someone for a job, if that's a teacher that's coming into my building, I'm going to go online and look for them.
That's right.
I'm going to look for them on LinkedIn or About or Twitter. I want to see what hashtag chats they're referencing, because for me, that is much more valuable than their resume. I don't know about you, Tony, but
I totally
their
agree.
Digital footprint, for me to look at and spend 5 or 10 minutes to look at that, is going to tell me so much more than reading a 8x11 resume.
And you're not the only one who's doing it. I mean, this thing that happened at school over the last 3 weeks, where parents were telling me, yes, we Googled you. Yeah, we read your blog. Our families are doing it. So as an educator, it's our responsibility to be cognizant of our digital footprint, to be responsible about what's in our digital footprint, and see that as a catalyst for really great things, because whatever you put out there can help you navigate the next steps, right, and help you try different things. But you have to be really conscious of what you're putting out there. And that's that whole idea of telling your story. What do you want to share with the world, right? What do you want to put out on Twitter? What do you want to put out there on Google Plus or on LinkedIn and About Me? And you can control that, but you have to be thoughtful and responsible. And our kids are actively engaging in social media. We have third graders. We had some, questionable choices about things that they posted. And so instead of it turning into, okay, we're not doing social media anymore, we're not using devices, we had conversations about how we can instruct them. How can we educate them so they can make better choices? And part of that is modeling and sharing with them the things that we do. So that's a really important piece in regards to thinking about your digital footprint.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank
we
you.
Appreciate you just kind of hanging out over lunch and staying a little bit longer today to chat. I mean, this is something that we're going to do more and more and more of. Our students are on campus once a month on the weekend, and
Yes.
we're going to try to bang out a couple of these, video podcasts as we can, because I think it not only helps our network, but it helps the greater education
Absolutely,
field.
absolutely.
If there's something that we didn't cover today that you would like to talk more about, or you have a question about, go ahead and leave it in the comment section here on the blog, and we will crowdsource that question across our network, our students, our alumni, our faculty, and we'll see if we can't get a response that speaks to some of the challenges that you have.
Thank you, Joe, for this opportunity. This is great.
Thanks for tuning in.